All right, wonderful. Welcome. Happy Tuesday, everyone. Dr. Stacy Holweger here. I am so excited to be on this Zoom this evening with all of you and for all of you watching the recording. I have a very special guest. Dr. Stan is with me again. Dr. Stan has been on here before in the past, and we have talked about all sorts of things with LifeWave technology and health and wellness. His background goes back very far into all different types of holistic healing modalities. So Dr. Stan is actually a life science practitioner. He's a master herbalist, and he is trained from several different Bible colleges, and he's earned 2 Bible diplomas. He has a Bachelor of Theology, a Master's, and a PhD in counseling. And Dr. Stan's also a certified human behavior consultant, a certified vitalist in natural healing from Hallelujah Acres Health Ministry, and a certified life science practitioner. So lots of things going on in his bio in the world of holistic health and wellness and healing. But I want to share with you his before and after picture before we go in a little bit further, because I think this is really important that you get to see this. So this is Dr. Stan and his beautiful wife, Jody. And this is before they started with LifeWave, correct? Or right after you guys started. Is that correct, Dr. Stan?
Yeah, that'll be 2 years this month.
Yes, 2 years this month. And now here we are. Look at you guys. Here you are 2 years later. This picture obviously was taken. You can see your background right there of your tree of life in your house.
Yes.
Decorations are a little different. We have flowers, and right now I'm currently seeing Christmas decorations. So not too long ago, not too long ago. But you can see the difference. Wow. Everything in both of you. Just look at your eyes, how bright and awake and wide, and your face, the lines. And I know you're not going and getting fillers and Botox and injections and all those things. So how is this happening, Dr. Stan? I would love for you to tell us a little bit about your journey with LifeWave, kind of what was going on with you before, what introduced you or who introduced you, and what have you experienced? Why did you decide to jump all in with LifeWave? And then we're going to take a deep dive. We've got almost 300 people on here. We're going to take a deep dive into the immune system. And we're going to really talk. You've got a great deal of information you're going to share. And we're going to talk about our patches and how they can help people in that. But give us a little bit of your background, Dr. Stan.
Well, our health journey, actually, we began our journey. It was 45 years ago. Jody and I were dating. And
when you were two, you were two 45 years ago.
2 years old. And believe it or not, we started dating in November and got engaged on December 25th, a month later, or a little bit over a month later. And so we've made it 45 years, and we started our journey with a wellness company. And over the years, we, have been in different projects that have to do with wellness. But about a little over 30 years ago, we got really serious with it because I was pastoring churches at the time, and I was overweight. I was having a lot of issues with just the normal things: allergies, colds, flus, bronchitis once a year, tonsillitis once a year, hemorrhoids, 60 plus pounds overweight, low energy, getting all the colds and flus and the viruses. Plus, I was pastoring churches. And of course, I was dealing with sickness and disease all the time. I was going to the hospitals, the nursing homes, rehab centers, homes, holding people's hands when they died, saw so much death and misery. And I was at a point where I was sick and tired of being sick and tired, and I started looking for answers. And that's how it kind of developed over the years. When I was pastoring, I got a big passion for helping people to connect all the dots, spiritually, physically, mentally, emotionally, working people, telling people, you got to take care of yourself. Your body is the temple, right? So you should be taking care of it. And of course, in church world, when you start messing with their food, it gets a little hairy sometimes. But we started helping people we were being trained at Hallelujah Acres, is where we started our journey. I got to be mentored by Dr. Lorraine Day, a medical doctor who just recently passed away, but amazing woman who pioneered in San Francisco, one of the first women that, were over all the orthopedic surgery things. Long story short, we just kept learning and going back to school, learning more, experimenting, doing this and that. And that's how I ended up all those certifications you were talking about. Well, it just basically transitioned into you could call it a full-time ministry, because we do this because our purpose is to help people to look good and feel good inside and out, add years to their life to their years, to live a life free from sickness and disease. And, because I believe we're designed to live a healthy, long and healthy life without sickness and disease. Doesn't mean we might not have some bumps in the road. Everybody will have a bump in the road every now and then, but our bodies, we're going to talk about tonight, our immune system is equipped to handle these bumps in the road and things that happen to us in life, which is why we got into all of this. Well, 2 years ago, a friend of ours, Alicia, we had been working with her in some other projects, and we had kind of separated from that project for several years. We stayed friends, and we knew that she was going through a cancer battle, and we found out, that she had been using this technology and actually got the best report she had in many, many, many years. In fact, the doctors told her Alicia, when she was doing this, that she would never be in remission, and they told her she was in remission, which was totally got my attention, because her cancer was really a death sentence, so to speak. That got Jody's attention, and Jody has some carpal tunnel issues going on, arthritis in the hands. And so she said, "Do you think it would help with that?" And of course, Lisa said, "Well, sure it will." And so, long story short, she used a few of the patches, and I said, "All right, let's give it a try." Because I'm going to study and I'm going to research. I'm the type person that's got to see it, feel it, touch it, and experience it myself most of the time, not all the time. But with a new technology like this, I needed to do my homework. And I started listening to David Smith, every YouTube video on everything that he ever said. I sat down, listened to the videos, took notes, and I have pages of them, that I took of what the inventor said about this crazy technology. And of course, during that period, Jody's hands started getting better. She used to wear copper glove mitts to bed, and she would, of course, during the night, turn over and touch those mitts. It was like going to bed with somebody who had baseball gloves on, And I was snoring, and after about 2 or 3 weeks, her hands were like 80% better. My snoring had diminished. But we both noticed after a couple of weeks, Dr. Stacy, that we were having more energy during the day. We were sleeping better during the night. And I had, long story short, I don't have to get into all of it, but we did move to the beach, semi-retired for about 6 years, lived the retirement life, semi-retirement life for 6 years. And during that time, we were having fun, going out to eat, family, friends, business partners. I mean, we were on a 6-year vacation. Well, I gained some weight, and so the story goes. But anyway, I got all the numbers under control except my blood pressure. And I told Jody in the beginning, if this technology helped to assist my body to reduce my blood pressure, I would be sold. And so I didn't change anything in my lifestyle. And after 2 weeks, my blood pressure had dropped 20 points. And after 3 weeks, my blood pressure dropped 30 points back into the normal range, which I was pretty ecstatic about that. And then Jody later on, she had some heart rhythm issues where her heart would just kind of start jumping around. And she was listening to testimony one day, and she realized that her heart rhythm had returned to normal. She wasn't having these heartbeats, jumping around with her anymore. So that was pretty amazing as far as that goes. But I noticed within just the first month or so, Jody was looking at me and said, are you dyeing your hair? And I said, no. And she said, well, your hair's getting darker. And I said, wow, I don't know. But So anyway, my hair started getting darker. Full disclosure, my sideburns and beard are still gray. So I touch up my sides so I don't look like Mitt Romney. And so anyway, I touch up the sideburns to keep up with the top of my head, which that's pretty cool. Your hair starts turning darker. And then she looked over at me one night and she said, "Man, you're getting your abs back." Because we had done a competition years ago and actually won first place in our age division, which was pretty cool. But I was starting to, it was interesting, Dr. Stacy, because I was losing inches, but I wasn't losing weight, which we can we'll get into that when we get into the immune system and inflammation. Because if you saw from the pictures, when you start getting inflammation out of the body, it's amazing how you'll lose weight, but even before that, inches. So the scale isn't always the best way to tell, how you're progressing in your health. But with all that said, we were getting all this inflammation out of our body. And I think it was about a little over the year, because there is a compounding effect with this technology. The more you use it, the better, your body starts catching up after years and years and years. I always tell people, how long should you patch till the day you die? It's like, this technology will help us keep ourselves more youthful. Everybody says, "Well, what if you quit?" Well, you'll be where you are, but then you'll start your normal aging process again, wherever you drop out at. And so it just depends on your lifestyle. And so we were pretty excited because right around month 13, 14, I finally decided to get on the scales, because I'm not a scale person. I don't, I'm more of, looking at the inflammation factors and other things. Well, I dropped 30 pounds over that period, 14-month period. I wasn't trying to lose weight. I wasn't doing a diet system, no motions, potions, or special pills. I was just living my lifestyle, that I always do, a healthy, lifestyle that combines everything you're supposed to. Had tweaked a few things. Our inventor, David Smith, kind of convinced me of a couple of things and started adding a copper supplement around probably month 8, right around 8 months. Mm-hmm. And then all of a sudden, on that 14-month period, I got on the scales and I was 30 pounds down. Went to my doctor and got my blood work done. I had the bone density of a teenager. My eyesight had improved because I was getting ready to have to go to another set of glasses, but my eyes had actually reversed, because these glasses I have on now were not working for me very well, but now they're working perfectly, which was a great side effect. When he pulled my blood level, he says, "What are you doing? Your T levels are up 200 points. And I said, "Just using this crazy technology." All I can tell you, that's the only thing I've changed, per se. And so truly, I think the magic started to happen around month 12. For a lot of things, biologically in my body. And so, of course, we do believe that we have reversed age. The pictures show that we have reversed age. Jody and I both, have always been in pretty good shape, and took care of ourselves. But we were starting at age 65, you start to realize that age does have a factor. And therefore, we were doing everything and probably doing better than 99% of the people our age, but the technology is what was missing that we needed, Dr. Stacy, to get our cells reactivated and rejuvenated and duplicating once again, like they did when we were younger. And that's what this technology does. It helps for us to reset our DNA and get our cells acting younger, and so that we can truly reverse age, slow the aging down. Yes, anti-age, correct, but even more importantly, as I've heard David say, our inventor, many, many times, this is reverse aging technology. Yeah. We're turning back the clock of time with this technology. So that's why we're in it, because my background was, helping people from a holistic standpoint, and helping people, with the spirit, mind, body concept, the epigenetics, and doing everything I knew, studying the longevity studies, blue zone studies. There's so many things out there today. It's so exciting. We've talked about this before, how that our ancient practices are now merging with modern technology to create this synergy and energy. That's why I'm so excited to be part of LifeWave, is because our company and David Smith is what we're all about, is contributing to this world to make it a better, healthier place ecologically, financially, and in every way. I mean, this is an exciting company to be a part of, because we're truly using, I mean, these patches are really renewable energy. We are using renewable energy to renew our energy from our own body. And of course, our inventors coming out even with more things to in the future. I mean, 2024, I just can't wait. We're going to be celebrating 20 years, and we know David Smith, our founder and inventor, is going to be rolling out some technology that's just going to blow all of our minds.
That is for sure. Wow. Thank you so much for giving that background, that information. People are so excited in the chat. They're saying it's giving them hope and giving their family members hope. So thank you for going in depth with your personal experience and testimonial. Somebody wants to know what patches you used for your blood pressure. What patches were you using?
Well, when we first got in, we were using 39 Eon. And they were throwing in the X49 at the time because it hadn't been officially released, but it was coming as I don't know, as a sample pack or something that you get a pre-release. It wasn't even the packaging. It was just a folder with a sticker on top of it. So I would say X39, X49, and Eon is what we started with. And that's what began to see the results within 3 weeks. And that was the only thing I changed lifestyle-wise.
That's perfect. And we can see from our clinical studies a reduction in systolic and diastolic blood pressure with the 39-49 combo. So that makes sense. And of course, we know Eon helping with your fibrinogen, of course, reducing the inflammatory markers in the body, bringing that into balance. That's absolutely amazing. They also want to know, what patches did Jody use for her wrist, and did she have any certain placement of them?
Well, pretty much the same thing that I was using. She was mostly concentrating on 39 and Eon. And I think Eon, and in the beginning, as far as patch placement, we weren't really, trying to figure out any kind of rocket science here. We were just putting it in the standard placements for the most part. I did patch my chest in the beginning. I had maybe 2 or 3 patches right in the center of my chest, just because I thought, well, why not? But for the most part, we were just using standard placements. I mean, and there's nothing wrong with finding meridians and trying to figure out places, but we were pretty much used it, Jody saying neck, and she did put them on her wrist.
Perfect. And then what's the difference between the two patches? They want to know the difference between X39 and Eon. And I know we're going to dive into these here in just a minute when we talk about our immune system and how these help. But do you want to give a quick synopsis of X39 and Eon, or do you want me to do that part?
Well, I mean, it's pretty simple. I mean, you're talking about a peptide. One's a GHK copper peptide, and the other one's the AHK copper peptide. And that's the difference between the two. The X39 helps cellular regeneration all over the body, whereas the X49 has specific areas that it works with, like muscles. That's why it can help with the heart, because the muscle is a heart, helps with bone, different things of that sort. So X49 is more of a supportive patch to me than the X39, because the X39 is actually helping the cells reproduce all over the body versus specific areas that the X49 does.
Exactly. Perfect. Yes. And Eon is a completely different patch. Eon, that he mentioned, helps bring down inflammatory markers, so it activates a peptide in the liver. So each patch works differently. They work independently of themselves, and they also work synergistically together. And as far as a pacemaker, of course, please check with your doctor if you have your questions about yourself. The third person I patched, third person was my father-in-law. He's still patching 39 and 49 every day, but he has a pacemaker. he has a defibrillator. He'd had a stroke, knee replacements, that kind of stuff. So yes, it's completely safe. There's no interactions or contraindications with anything hardware in your body, or any medications that you're taking, of course, as well too. And you can wear multiple patches at the same time. I know that first day, I think I put 6 on. And I took them all off when I put Alavita on at night. So 7 total in the day, but it's totally up to you what you want to patch with and what your needs are. So, Dr. Stan, let's dive into the immune system because it's the winter. And even though down here in Florida, we tend to be a little bit warmer than most people in the country, it's still the winter. And so people are programmed to believe that this time of year, they're going to get sick. They're going to catch the colds, the flus, the bugs, the whatever is going on. Because of the time of year. Not that people don't get sick other times, but it seems to be more prevalent now. And me, I always say, whatever God drops into my head, that's what we're going to talk about. And the other week, it was after last week, Laura and I finished the weight loss segment. The next day I was in the car and it was like, immune system, text Dr. Stan. And I'm like, okay. So here we are. So Dr. Stan, you're here because obviously you're amazing at what you do and your background and your knowledge. Can you share with us, what your findings are in your experience with the immune system and how that pertains to our body's ability to stay healthy?
Well, obviously, the immune system is probably the largest group of systems in the body that protects us from all kinds of different invaders, germs, viruses, all kinds of invaders, bacteria, fungus. Because, when we're living our life, we're going to be exposed to things. But the wonderful thing about our bodies is that they have been created to basically take care of those invaders that come into our body. And of course, the immune system is a big network of organs, white blood cells, proteins, chemicals that are all working together to keep those invaders out, destroy those invaders, limiting how much harm the invaders can do to our body, healing damage to the body, adapting to new challenges and threats. That's why I love our immune system. When we do fight something off, then the body, if it ever comes back again, it goes, oh, I know who you are. And it just kind of goes, those T killer cells or whatever go, we got you this time before you can even get started. Because, infections and parasites, all these things we are exposed to every day. And I found that over the years, people like you alluded to, Dr. Stacy, they just kind of think, well, I'm just going to get the cold. I'm just going to get the flu. My mom had allergies. I have most of the stuff we inherit is social environmental influences that are passed down by lifestyle. Most of the things that we have are lifestyle related, and genes play a very small part. Yes, less than 1%, because every one of us are 99% pretty much the same. It's that less than 1% that determines our different looks, our hair, our style, whether we're short, fat, skinny, tall, all that kind of fun stuff, how we look. But a lot of it too just has to do with our lifestyle and giving our body's immune system the ability to stay strong and equipped. And of course, one of the first ways that the body protects itself is through the skin, Dr. Stagowski. We have our own antimicrobial proteins on our skin. That's why I tell people don't wash with alcohol-related things, because it's killing your good bacteria off your skin. It's been proven. This is a little side street, but still, it's been proven when you strip all that good bacteria off your body, your first line of defense is gone. So it's gone. So I would discourage you from using alcohol-based sanitizers. That's my personal opinion. Bone marrow, which is really, 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 really one of the most important things. If you don't have a healthy bone marrow, you're not going to have a healthy immune system. This is where our stem cells are being reproduced and made in the body. That's why you hear many times people getting bone marrow transplants, which can save people's lives. If you need one, go get one. But this is where your immune system really operates and comes from. And of course, our bloodstream is important. We could get into the thymus, lymphatic system. That's why exercise is important. The lymphatic system only works through movement. If you're not moving, those fibers aren't moving and everything gets clogged up. And then the next thing you know, you have cancer, and it can spread through the body through the lymph system. So you want to keep that lymph system. The spleen is processing information. Tonsils, that's another important organs. Those two little tonsils in the back of your throat are what I call germ catchers, virus catchers. And if they get swollen, it's because the body says, okay, we're just going to store it here until we can deal with eliminating it naturally through the body. So your immune system, if it's working properly and all these organs and systems are working at their maximum proficiency, it will activate and mobilize and kill the invaders, whatever they are that are in your body. You don't have to worry about it. And if you start feeling a little bit sick or you feel like an invader's coming in, one of the best things you can do is really quit eating, just drink a lot of water and allow your body to take care of it. There's another fasting, I think, is one of the best healing modalities that anybody can do, even if that's why I do intermittent fasting, because intermittent fasting will take care of most of it because you're giving your body, if you're staying within an 8-hour window of eating, you've got at least 12 plus hours of the body being able to rest and repair, rebuild. Which I think is very important for the immune system, because if you're always full of food, you're always, even when you go to bed at night, if your body's full of food, it's up all night time trying to digest food when it was designed to be resting and repairing at night, not digesting and trying to get rid of what you ate. And so you're missing out, even hormonal production, is mostly made between the 10 to 2 o'clock times. And if your body's too busy, with all the junk foods and things you're eating, it's not going to be able to help your immune system or whatever. And then, of course, if you get too much stuff going on, you can get into an overactive immune system, which can create too much inflammation in the body, which can cause inflammation in different organs, especially bowels will get inflamed. You can get arthritis, rheumatitis. Anytime the doctor says you've got something that ends in itis, you've got inflammation, acute inflammation in your body that needs to come under control. That's why a lot of times you got to calm the immune system down, because it can be underactive or it can be overactive, and that's again due to your lifestyle and what you're doing, which we can give some tips for that. But that's why the immune system is so important. All these things are working together to annihilate and destroy any of those invaders coming into our life, but you got to give them the proper rest and nutrition, the exercise, everything together, and even the mental, because it's been proven over and over. If you think, well, I'm just going to get the colds and flus every year, you're going to get them. People that think they're going to die of cancer usually do. If you think heart disease runs in your family, chances are you're going to get it because you're believing in it. And that may sound hokey to some people, but words are powerful. Your belief system's powerful, and your body listens to everything you're saying and doing. And I learned years ago, Dr. Stacy, every system of the body nerves runs through the throat, through the voice box. And whatever you're saying literally vibrates throughout your whole body and tells your whole body how to think. So if you're thinking lack, disease, all these things, that's what's going to be communicating to the body vibrationally. And the cells are going to be affected by that, and it's going to pull your immune system down. It's going to make more stress. So that's a little side road, but I think it's worth taking.
No, I totally agree with you 100% on that, because, people just, we know what we know, and then you don't know what you don't know until someone shares that with you. And most people do think that it's definitely, genetic and it's going to happen. And their doctor probably confirms that, because you have to fill out 2,500 pieces of paper that say all the people in your history, in your past, that have ever had any kind of issues. And they're like, oh, well, you're going to have these things right here. And, so we start to believe, what has happened to people in the past. We're programmed to that. And so it's waking up and saying, oh, wait, maybe there's something different. Maybe I want to learn something new. Maybe I want to take on some new information and discern that and see if it resonates with me. And everything you're saying completely resonates with me 100%. That's for sure.
Yeah,
Definitely.
yeah. Yeah, and and that kind of, I grew up, I thought I was just going to have all the sicknesses and diseases that my grandparents and my parents had. And it was amazing when we started this journey about 35 years ago. We did something back then as simple as change our lifestyle and our mental thought process and eliminated all of that literally in 6 weeks.
Mm.
And that was pretty amazing. But then when you get, you do age, as we know, you get between 30 and 40, your stem cells, cellular activation is really down to, around 50%, give or take, depending on the lifestyle. That's why I always tell people I love the NFL. I watch it, love it, and keep up with it. But it's interesting when they get to be 30 to 35, they start calling them old. These
Mhm.
athletes are getting old. I mean, they're 35 years old. I mean, come on. But it's because their cellular activity is
Mhm.
almost is half of what it was when they were in their 20s. So they get injured more and it takes longer to repair. So that's why after 40, they don't usually make it unless you're Tom Brady and do the TB12 system that promotes all the healthy things that we're talking
Right.
about. And then you get 60 to 70, you're going to be somewhere between 0 and 30%, again, depending on your lifestyle. But then,
Mhm.
Dr. Stacy, between 70 and 80, well, it's pretty much gone, which is why most people die between 70 and 80 years old.
Yeah.
If long livers are 77, 78, and so that's why it's so important to get your cells activating and acting younger, which brings us to
Mhm.
the inflammation factor. Because inflammation is important. We know we need inflammation and that's our body's way of bringing energy to a certain area of the body, turns red or whatever. It means the red blood, all the stuff is repairing and healing. But if it gets into acute inflammation and it goes overboard and it gets out of control, that's when the stages of diseases start to set up. You go from induration all the way to cancer, depending, if you don't get it under control. And so acute inflammation occurs for a short duration, but chronic inflammation can just go on and on. And we know what inflammation is because we can feel the heat, we can feel the pain, we can see the swelling, we can see the loss of function with it. But it is part of the healing process. But then if it isn't under control, it turns into things like chronic, arthritis, rheumatoid arthritis. The immune system will start attacking your joints. You'll start getting tired, numbness. This is where a lot of autoimmune diseases start to kick in because with all that inflammation, the body starts turning on itself. And when people's, it's like the term fibromyalgia, it's a medical term, but basically what they're saying, we don't know what's wrong with you. So we're just going to call it fibromyalgia. It's kind of like schizophrenia. I've
Mhm.
studied all these things. That's my background. They'll tell you it's schizophrenia. It's just saying we don't know what's going on. All we know is you're mentally disturbed, but they're not getting at the root causes. But thank God for people like Dr. Almond and different people. They're finally
Mhm.
looking at brain scans and figuring out there's a lot more to it, than just the aging process. Even multiple sclerosis, these dementia, Alzheimer's, the major killers of our life these days all start with acute inflammation that just gets out of control in whatever body part that it happens to land in and take over. And so it's very important that we get this under control. Inflammation, we need it for
Mhm.
healing, but we don't need too much of it, or it's going to create these diseases that I'm talking about. And of course, that's why it's very important. Stress, mental stress, that's a big factor in it. Dr. Stacy, whenever it's been proven, if you're stressed out, you're a worry wart, you're walking in fear. So many people are walking in fear. I'm afraid I'm going to get the cold. I'm afraid I'm going to get the flu. I'm afraid I'm going to have a heart attack. I'm afraid mom had to fear. I just see so much fear, people, and you got to have faith and belief in the body that you have that it can function. And that's a big part of it. But obviously, the American lifestyle, refined sugars, refined carbohydrates, our foods are full of chemicals and poisons. A lot of these things are outlawed in Europe, but they're okay here in the United States. It's amazing.
Mhm.
Of course, anything you're doing, too much trans fats, too much omega 6s, we just live in a world where inflammation heats up everywhere in our body due to a lot of stress, either through biological stress, mental stress, all kinds of things that are going on that overload us with toxicity. And then that toxicity builds up into the body and it starts to make us swell. We gain weight. We start getting sick. We start getting blood pressure problems. We start having memory problems. All the aging problems is basically every sickness and disease is an aging problem that has to do with the fact, Dr. Stacy, our immune system is worn down, inflammation is taking over the body, and people just get eat up with all these chronic conditions.
Yeah, you're very, very, very correct. And so I want to kind of piggyback off that with talking about our X39. So you talked about a lot of things physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually. And we know with our X39, this activates that peptide, as you mentioned, GHKCU, copper peptide. I know when someone asked what you said you were taking, I eat dark chocolate, a square of dark chocolate every day to elevate my own copper. What were you taking, Dr. Stan? Someone asked.
I took an organic chelated copper, 2 milligrams twice a day.
Okay, so I'm just taking chocolate.
Well, that's good. That's the more delicious way to do it.
70% plus cacao. I'm gonna do 1 square of dark chocolate every day. But
That's
okay,
wonderful.
someone was asking. Or you could eat liver. Not doing that.
Yeah, not
No.
sure for that.
So this patch does a lot of what he was just talking about. It helps reduce some of the inflammation in the body. It helps with our body's circulation, of course. We can look at how this patch impacts our immune system. We know that it elevates our own glutathione by about 30%. We're going to talk about glutathione here in just a minute, but this elevates glutathione some. Which is a benefit, right? Because glutathione being the master antioxidant, detoxer, and immune booster. This patch also is responsible for elevating our own collagen level, and collagen is the glue that holds everything together inside. It's very important in your digestion, in your metabolism, and not just your hair, skin, and nails. And so this obviously is going to help with your digestion. It's going to help with your immune system, help with that healing in the gut. As Dr. Stan said, it does elevate those cellular activation cells in your body that are responsible to repair and regenerate anything and everything. But one of the other things that X39 does is specifically for the brain. And so we can see in our clinical studies, bringing the brain into balance, coherence, right brain, left brain communication, and actually rewiring and firing new neural networks, creating new neural pathways in the brain, which is huge for your thought processes. Okay, so people are like, I don't eat great, I'm negative, I'm worried, I'm fearful, whatever, all the things. But what happens over time from using this patch is not only does it impact you physically, it also impacts you mentally and emotionally because of what it does in the brain. And that is so important to our future health and our future lifestyle choices because you start to feel better and you start to make better choices. And better choices mean better outcomes in your life. And the other thing before we move on, Dr. Stan, is the patch Eon. Now, Eon is the patch that directly impacts your nervous system because we know that this is what we call our happy patch. So talk about that mental, emotional stress and patterns and beliefs. This brings your body into a parasympathetic state. You're either in sympathetic nervous system turned on, fight or flight mode, go, 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 stress nonstop, or you're in this calm, rest, relax, digest state. Now, it's the holidays. Feel free to double patch or triple patch if you need to around family or friends or social gatherings, because this is going to bring your nervous system into balance to help reduce that anxiety and that stress and that fear and that worry. But again, one of its major components is reducing inflammation, many different inflammatory markers. And you heard Dr. Stan talk about the role of inflammation in your immune system. When your cells are inflamed, these toxins start to hang out. They get stuck in there, right? Those heavy metals get stuck inside of your cells. And so your body's ability to keep itself in a healthy state is diminished when you have inflammation that is chronic, that stays. And you'll probably see it on blood work, right? Your cytokines, your lipids, your C-reactive proteins, right? Your fibrinogen, things like that. this is going to help bring down these inflammatory markers. Not to mention, we know that both of these patches can help with pain reduction or even pain elimination. When you have inflammation, you probably have pain, like you said. And so then you got a grouchy person. You're not happy. You're not sleeping. Your mental faculties are not all about you because you're in pain. And so that's an important part too of our immune system is our overall well-being. Like you're saying, I think everyone's loving that. Your general overall well-being is impacted by your immune system. And so being all of this plays into each other. So I wanted to kind of share those before we move on. And we have other questions, but we'll get to those here in just a minute, Dr. Stan. So we'll let you
Okay.
keep going.
Well, just to add to what you say, one of the most important things in our immune system is that bone marrow. And I just want to mention this again because it has been shown clinically proven when you elevate that copper peptide in our body, it does encourage those stem cells in the bone marrow to begin to wake up and reproduce. So we're not saying X39 is necessarily doing that. We're just telling you when that copper peptide is elevated, it does its job in the body to tell the bone marrow to start producing stem cells. That's just a scientific fact. So if we can, through our lifestyle, enhance our ability, to keep these cells working in all these organs and operating at youthful levels, then we know that we don't have to be scared of all these sicknesses and diseases that you have mentioned, because this raising this copper peptide in your body has been shown to encourage the death of cancer cells. I mean, everybody, is afraid of cancer when in actuality, cancer is one of the most easiest things to get rid of if you ever get it or prevent. And I'm just saying, I was trained by Dr. Lorraine Day, who overcame cancer naturally. She was a medical doctor. I was trained by medical doctors that went through the systems, and we're not telling you don't go to your doctor and don't do this or that. You have to do what you think you need to do. But I'm just telling you what other doctors discovered in these things. And so I'm just telling you, when you're getting also that inflammation out of your body, you're reducing cortisol levels. And when you're reducing cortisol, it's amazing how our whole digestive systems, everything affects our IGF levels, how we age. All of this is so interconnected, Dr. Stacy. When we're in homeostasis and the patches are helping our bodies to stay in that homeostasis, we stay in balance and we don't have to worry so much about, am I going to get a cold? Am I going to get a flu? Am I going to get dementia? Am I going to get Alzheimer's? Am I going to die of a heart attack or a stroke and all these things, all you got to do is keep your body in harmony and homeostasis. And that's, to me, is what the patches are doing, is helping, assisting our body to heal itself. The patches can't heal nothing, but we can give our bodies the things like diet, exercise, pure water, clean diet, stress management, prayer, meditation, doing our supplementation wisely, and doing something like this photobiomodulation technology. We're combining everything together to keep us in perfect balance, so we don't have to worry about that kind of stuff. I always like to say, I've said it for years, I kid around and say I want to die with my boots on and not a diaper. I want to be like Moses, go up on the mountain at 120 years old, wave goodbye to everybody, and just go up there and fall asleep and go right back to the light source that created me, God. And that's the way to go, or at least go out like Elijah in a whirlwind of fire. And it was a chariot of fire he was taken up in, not the whirlwind. So there's another teaching in that, the fire. But anyway, that's the cool stuff about all this technology.
So, Dr. Stan, I would like for you to elaborate on this. You mentioned earlier, that fasting, so people had questions about that. So the water, you talked about intermittent fasting, you talked about being able to, have that time without food. If you're sick, drink more water. We always hear, chicken noodle soup. It's really not the chicken noodle soup, let's be honest. It's the broth, right? It's more fluids, more liquids. So let's talk about the patches and our immune system. inflammation, cellular activation, and that key component of water and hydration for all of this. Can you elaborate on that for me a little bit?
Absolutely. I always tell people the first and foremost nutrient you need in your body every day is air, fresh air. You can go about 4 minutes without air and you're going to pass out and you're going to die if you don't get any more oxygen in. Second most important nutrient we put into our body every day is water. Depending on what organ it is, but on average, we're 80%, give or take, depending on which organ it is. We don't need to break it all down and get into the percentages. So, and everything works based on the water that's in our body. It's kind of like the lubrication, it's the buffering system, it's everything. If you're not hydrated, your cells are not hydrated, then it's kind of like walking around in the desert for 40 days and 40 nights. If you don't get some water, everything dries up and starts going to waste. And so if we're not properly hydrated every day, everything starts to dry up and start dying. It's just that simple. You gotta have water. It's the air and water, is the most important thing. H2O, HOH. That's so important to get these things into our bodies.
I love that. And give us your tips on, you said you do intermittent fasting. Do you do that every day? Do you do how many hours? I'm a huge intermittent faster myself, 16,
Well,
8, have for like I
yeah,
think 8 years now. So what do you do with it? How do you do it?
I eat as far as solid food, within an 8-hour period.
Me too.
When I get up in the morning, I hydrate. I drink a couple of glasses of water. After I have my water, I do a green tea, ginger, lemon water with a little bit of raw apple cider vinegar. I drink that down and that cleanses and purifies, opens up the liver, the bowel, everything. It just energizes everything. In the morning, we'll drink on average 1 cup of coffee in the morning, plain. If some people are coffee sensitive, cannot handle it. Some people don't have, there's an enzyme that some people don't have, and cannot tolerate coffee. Coffee has a lot of controversy. I think it has a lot to do with mostly what you're putting in it. If you're putting a lot of cream and sugar,
Yeah.
but 1 or 2 cups of coffee have been shown to have some good effects for the body, but you don't have to. I would just drink water. Usually in the morning, I will then, when I start to get hungry, I just do a super green food supplement. Again, it's just a liquid, a green food powder that dissolves in water and that type of stuff. And then by the time I get my workout in, because I work out on an empty stomach, and that really gets the fat burning and gets the systems going and burning out all the toxins out of your body. And then I'll usually follow that sometimes with a protein shake, but mostly that's when I'll break the fast within about an hour of working out, with some type of, healthy meal. And then during the afternoon, I'm drinking more water, maybe try to eat at least 1 piece of fruit a day. That could be in the morning. Might eat an apple or eat some blueberries. And those really don't count as a meal. I mean, fruit is pretty much pre-digested anyway. But then in the afternoon, I'll try to do a piece of fruit, and I'll try to do maybe in the mid-afternoon a handful of raw nuts or seeds with an apple or something like that. Then Jody and I will eat our evening meal together. So I'm basically eating the two main meals a day within an 8-hour period. And then the rest of the time is just either water or fruit or something real light in between. And because your goal is when you go to bed, you want to go to bed on an empty stomach. Because as I alluded to earlier, your body needs to rest and repair at night, not digest and assimilate food all night. And then that's why people wake up with a food hangover, because if they didn't rest well the rest of the night, because their body was awake all night trying to digest, assimilate, and detox with all this, junk in the colon and stomach, everywhere. So that's what I do. Try to at least a 12-hour window at least, but my goal is 8.
I love that. Okay. So somebody asked, you had talked about all the nerves and all the things that come right here down in your throat.
Yeah,
So
they
she was
do.
asking if you're talking about vocal tremors, or could you repeat what you were saying
Well,
about that?
every nerve in the body runs through the vocal cord, throat area, and through your feet, and some to your hands, because that's why reflexology and even the hands, the nerves, they can touch certain things in your feet and they can tell what's going on in your body. Well, when of course your brain is the main communication system with the whole body, and your nervous system runs through there and throughout the whole body. But what's being communicated when you're talking, you are sending a vibration throughout the whole body, and it's either positive or negative. And I like to call it beating the drum. And I was getting many years ago when I was learning this. This is a good lesson. I was in a car accident and had two major surgeries. Well, for about almost 3 years, I was in excruciating pain, but I was always talking about it, blah, 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 had this accident, blah, 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 all the time, and it's hurting me. And I finally started learning this, and, I changed my verbiage. I had, number one, I had to quit beating the drum of what had happened, what was going on, and I had to start beating the drum of a new vibration of what it was that I was wanting, instead of beating the drum of what it was that I was experiencing. So I changed my self-talk, to where when I was saying my affirmations, and again, it's not just saying affirmations. You can repeat something over and over. It doesn't necessarily mean it's going to do you any good. You got to really have faith and believe that what you're saying is true and is activating. So I was starting to change my vibration, so to speak, in my body. And it was amazing. Within 6 weeks, Dr. Stacy, of quit telling that story, telling the story that I wanted, good health and vitality and all of that, all my pain went away in 6
Wow.
weeks.
Wow.
6 weeks. Same thing happened to Jody, and she has a similar story because she didn't really believe it. And she was down with a infection, urinary tract infection, kidney infection. We had just moved to Martinsville, taking care of my mom, who had cancer. And this is another connection to the inflammation factor, which I think is a good one. She was in the bed. We were working together in my office. We were, two people running my office, and she had to leave, go home, because she was in the bed sick. We were doing everything we needed to do, the herbs and spices and the liquids, and doing everything. And then the lady that was teaching me all this stuff, called her up and says, "What's going on?" Well, long story short, she had been thrust into being moved. She was kind of angry. She was upset. And anger creates inflammation in the body. So once she recognized that she was angry, within 24 hours, she was up and out of the bed. And I think it was like within 3 days, she was back in the office. All we did was quit. We had to, voice a different perspective, and the vocal cords vibrate through the whole body and the nervous system. We are in a bioelectrical system, and it's constantly communicating between the cells and the electricity in our body, and everything's listening to each other. And that's why, to me, it's so important to have faith and to believe and not doubt. Jesus taught these things in the Bible. If you will have faith and believe and will not doubt, you can say to the mountains, "Be thou removed, be cast in the sea." If you will not doubt, these things can come to pass. You can remove the mountains from your life if you have the right words and the right verbiage. You can ask, you can seek, and you can find. Ask, and it shall be given unto you. Seek, and you shall find. Knock, and the doors will be open. So it's just when you start saying and verbalizing that with faith and hope and belief, it changes everything in the body on a deep vibrational level.
I love that. I love that so much. So we have about 4 minutes left, and we're going to speak into existence the benefits of our glutathione and our carnosine. So we know we talked about our X39 elevating your glutathione about 30%, but David has actually invented a patch that elevates your own glutathione. This is a tripeptide that your body has. You were born with an abundance of it. We know it declines as you age. We also know, Dr. Stan, because we've taken deep dives down into the blue zones, that the oldest people on the planet are proven to have the highest level of glutathione. And so
Absolutely.
this patch elevates your glutathione level, not just 30% like the X39, but actually elevates it over 300% and
Unbelievable.
sustains it for a 24-hour period. So if you feel like you're getting something coming in your chest, prime example, we came home from conference and Brent said, my lymph nodes are swollen. I've never felt my lymph nodes before. And I said, stick a glutathione on each side and go away, go drink some water. And he came back a couple hours later and he goes, oh my gosh, I've had my first like really crazy wild product experience 2.5 years later. And I go, what? And he goes, they're not swollen anymore. And I said, fantastic. Don't take those patches off. We have no time for you to be sick, right? You know how women get sick and we're like, we power through. Men get sick and it's like man flu. They're down for years. And so we just don't have time for man flu, right? Let's go, right? Mindset. You got this. You got this. But we patch those lymph nodes. So if you feel like there's something coming on, you can patch double patches with your X39, your Eon, your glutathione to really kind of pop that immune system, right? Really get that glutathione rushing through your veins. Or, of course, you could go do an IV drip. A lot of people do that with that glutathione push, but this is going to be way more powerful and non-invasive. Nothing's entering the body. No glutathione's entering. This is elevating your own glutathione. So that's huge for antioxidant purposes in your body, for your immune system, for the digestive system, right? And then the other one I want you to touch on too, Dr. Stan, is our carnosine. Carnosine is another huge antioxidant. Most people don't know about this one, but we know that this is a very big antioxidant. Again, your body makes this dipeptide, and so this patch elevates that carnosine level, and it's responsible for detoxing lots of things out of the body, as well as the glutathione, but differently. Glutathione is very much like X39, how you mentioned earlier, systemic. It goes throughout the whole body. Carnosine is kind of like X49 in that it likes to hang out in certain areas, the heart, muscles, the brain, the organs, things like that. So we got about, just a minute or two left. What are your thoughts on our carnosine and our glutathione in our immune system balancing? What would you say or recommend to that?
Well, exactly what you said. It basically is the master antioxidant because it is going to protect the body and detoxify the body, which is so important when we're fighting disease and protecting ourselves. We've got to have that extra protection from oxidative stress, which will help with the inflammation also, to defend your body and to trigger healing, fight bacteria, germs, and all these invaders coming into our body. And then, of course, with the carnosine, you're encouraging your body to repair and heal the tissue and the organs of the body so that they can function at optimal levels, which is why, like you said, it's kind of more specific to organs. That's why you'll see better cognitive function, mental and visual will get better, better protection. Gosh, telomere and DNA protection. As if your telomeres are unraveling and they're coming apart, then you're going to fall apart, which is really key. It's just, it enhances, the carnosine enhances the bioelectrical functions of the organs, is what we've been really talking about, and increases that electrical energy in these systems, which is so important because, we really didn't tell about energy enhancer, but we know that, I was just doing a study this past week, Dr. Stacy, that a doctor was saying, once your mitochondrial energy is down, that's when cancer cells really begin to get elevated in your body to where now they can start, they're there, but they're in check by the immune system. But then, if they're not, then the next thing they're going to get out of control. So this is so important. That's why I would encourage using the energy enhancer if somebody is sick, to increase the energy healing power of the body, to get that cellular level, those cells charged up, because our batteries, when we're sick, our batteries get run down and we get weak, where the energy enhancer naturally increases our mitochondrial energy, which helps with immune function.
Well, and it
There's a
also
bonus.
turns over that lymphatic system, right? And you
Yes,
talked about that. You and I love rebounding, how we rebound. You travel with your rebounder,
I
but
travel with it.
you do. I love it. But we know the power of turning over that lymphatic system, get those toxins out of the body, and energy enhancer does that as well too. So, gosh, thank you so much, Dr. Stan. You literally just poured in an hour worth of wealth of information, and I know you'll go back and read the comments, but everyone is just so grateful for the information you shared, especially talking about your thoughts and your words and the power of that belief and the spoken word over our immune system and over our body. So thank you so much for taking the time, for being here tonight with us, for helping so many people in all that you do. And as a senior presidential director in LifeWave, your wife Jody is also a senior presidential director in LifeWave. You both are helping hundreds and thousands, really tens of thousands of people in their health journey. And we're just so grateful for you to pour into not only your team, but into the bigger team of LifeWave with this recording. So thank you so much for all you do for all of us in LifeWave.
Thank you. It's an honor.
Have a great evening, everyone. We'll see you in 2 weeks. Next week is our holiday week. And so we will be back in 2 weeks.